My father's dead ex is living in their basement. I'm staring at a woman who's supposed to be dead, and she's asking me if I want cream in my coffee. Sarah. The word barely makes it out of my throat. My textbook crashes to the basement floor where I dropped it, pages splaying open to chapter 12, Corporate Financial Planning. Ironic, considering what I'm about to uncover. She freezes with the coffee pot halfway to my mug, her hand trembling so violently that drops spatter across the makeshift kitchen counter Dad built down here last year. The counter I thought was just another one of his random home improvement projects. You're not supposed to be here, she whispers, and I notice how thin she's gotten. Sarah used to be curvy, always laughing, always stealing bites of Dad's dessert when I was 16 and she was practically family. Now she looks like she weighs maybe 90 pounds soaking wet, her blonde hair hanging limp and unwashed past her shoulders. You're supposed to be dead. I can't stop staring. There was a funeral. I wore a black dress. Mom made that awful tuna casserole for the reception. Sarah's face crumples. She sets down the coffee pot with shaking hands and sinks onto the old couch that appeared in our basement around the same time as the kitchen setup. Everything's clicking into place with sickening clarity. How long? I ask. 3 years, 4 months, 16 days. She knows exactly. 3 years. The same amount of time Dad's been collecting on her life insurance policy. The same amount of time he's been playing the grieving ex-boyfriend, milking sympathy from Mom, from our neighbors, from anyone who'd listened to his tragic story about losing his dear friend Sarah in that terrible car accident on I-95. I remember the closed casket. Dad said the accident was too horrific, that we should remember her as she was. I remember the insurance money, $180,000, that he claimed Sarah had left to him because she had no family. He used it to pay off the house, buy Mom that new Honda she'd wanted, take us all to Disney World last Christmas. He told everyone you died in a car crash, I say, my voice hollow. There were flowers. Mom cried. I know. Sarah's looking at her hands, and I can see bruises around her wrists. Old ones, faded yellow-green, and fresher purple ones too. He shows me the Facebook posts sometimes. Your mom's so sweet. She still posts on my memorial page on my birthday. The memorial page. Jesus Christ. Mom maintains a Facebook memorial page for a woman who's been living 20 feet below our kitchen this entire time. Why haven't you left? Why haven't you called for help? Sarah laughs, but it sounds broken. With what phone? What ID? I'm legally dead, remember? He has my driver's license, my social security card, everything. And he made sure I understood what would happen to your family if I ever tried to surface. She looks up at me with eyes that used to sparkle when she helped me with algebra homework. He's very creative when it comes to consequences. My phone buzzes upstairs, probably Mom texting that she'll be home from her book club at 9. Dad won't be back from his business trip until Thursday. We have time, but not much. Sarah, I say carefully, I'm going to get you out of here. She shakes her head frantically. You don't understand what he's capable of. Neither does he. The basement door creaks upstairs. We both freeze. Emma. You down there studying? Mom's voice drifts down the stairs, sweet and completely oblivious. I brought you some of those cookies from Janet's book club. Sarah's face goes white as paper. She scrambles off the couch, coffee mug clattering to the floor, and disappears behind a false wall panel I hadn't even noticed. It slides shut so seamlessly it looks like part of the original foundation. Coming, Mom. I call out, grabbing my textbook and praying my voice sounds normal. I bound up the stairs 2 at a time, trying to look like a stressed college sophomore instead of someone whose entire world just imploded. Mom's in the kitchen arranging snickerdoodles on a plate, still wearing her navy cardigan and the pearl earrings Dad bought her last Christmas. With the insurance money. With Sarah's insurance money. How was book club? I ask, accepting a cookie I don't want. Oh, you know how it is. Linda spent 20 minutes complaining about her son's girlfriend, and Patricia brought that awful wine again. She pauses, studying my face. You look pale, sweetie. Are you feeling okay? Just tired. Accounting exam on Friday. She nods sympathetically. Your father always says accounting is the backbone of business. Speaking of which, he called earlier. The conference in Atlanta is going well, but he might extend the trip through Saturday. Something about a potential client. A potential client. Right. I wonder what Dad's actually doing in Atlanta, or if he's even there at all. 3 years of lies makes everything suspect. Mom, do you ever think about Sarah Kellerman anymore? The question slips out before I can stop it. Mom's face immediately softens with that practiced sympathy she's perfected over the past 3 years. Of course, honey. She was such a bright light. Mom's voice takes on that gentle, memorial tone. Your father still has such a hard time talking about her. Just last month he got teary-eyed looking through old photos. Old photos. Jesus. He probably shows them to Sarah too, some sick psychological torture. It's just, sometimes I wonder about the accident. Like, weren't there inconsistencies in the police report? Mom frowns. What do you mean? Emma, why are you bringing this up? My heart hammers against my ribs. I'm walking a tightrope here. I don't know, just, my criminal justice elective has me thinking about cold cases. And I remember Dad being the only one who identified the remains. Emma Margaret Chimorison, what exactly are you suggesting? Mom's voice sharpens. She only uses my full hyphenated name when I'm in trouble. Nothing. Nothing, I just. Your father lost someone very important to him. We all did. Sarah was practically family. Mom's eyes glisten. That man grieved for months. He couldn't even clean out her apartment. I had to donate all her clothes to Goodwill because he couldn't bear to touch them. Her clothes. Sarah's been wearing the same faded t-shirt and sweatpants combo for who knows how long, while Mom donated her entire wardrobe to charity. The cruelty is breathtaking. You're right, Mom. I'm sorry. Final stress is making me weird. She relaxes, patting my arm. It's okay, sweetheart. But maybe don't mention this to your father. You know how sensitive he still is about Sarah. Sensitive. That's one word for it. Of course not. After Mom goes to bed, I wait exactly 43 minutes before creeping back to the basement. Sarah's sitting on the couch again, but she's changed clothes, now wearing a different faded t-shirt that hangs off her skeletal frame. We need to talk about what happens next, I whisper. She just stares at me with hollow eyes. You have no idea what you're walking into. Show me, I say, settling onto the couch beside her. Show me what I'm walking into. Sarah stares at me for a long moment, then gets up and walks to what looks like a regular basement storage cabinet. She opens it to reveal a small safe I've never seen before. Her fingers shake as she punches in a combination, 0847, I memorize it automatically. Inside are stacks of documents. Bank statements, forged death certificates, correspondence with insurance companies. And photos. So many photos. He documents everything, Sarah whispers, pulling out a manila folder. Every conversation, every interaction. He calls it insurance for his insurance. The first photo makes my stomach drop. It's Mom at Sarah's memorial service, dabbing her eyes with tissues. Someone, Dad, has written on the back, Linda's genuine grief. Sell the devastated widower angle harder next time. The next photo is me, 16 and crying at the funeral. The notation reads, Emma's emotional response confirms she suspects nothing. Children are the best authenticators. Oh God. I flipped through more photos. Our neighbors bringing casseroles during Dad's difficult time. Mom posting happy anniversary messages on what would have been Sarah and Dad's dating milestones. All of it cataloged, analyzed, weaponized. There's more. Sarah pulls out a thick stack of papers. He's not just collecting on my life insurance. He's been using my identity for credit cards, taking out loans. Look at this. She shows me bank statements from accounts I've never heard of. Sarah Kellerman's credit score is apparently excellent, despite her being dead for 3 years. Someone's been making minimum payments on 17 different credit cards, keeping the accounts active. The total debt is over $340,000, she says. All in my name. If I ever surface, if I ever try to reclaim my identity, I'll be financially destroyed before I can even prove I'm alive. My hands shake as I flip through the statements. Cash advances, luxury purchases, payments to companies I don't recognize. What are these charges to the Meridian Consulting Services? That's his business. He's been paying himself consulting fees with my stolen identity. Sarah's voice is hollow. He created an entire fake paper trail showing that before my death, I hired his company for financial planning services. If anyone ever investigates, it looks legitimate. The scope of this is staggering. This isn't just insurance fraud, it's identity theft, credit fraud, money laundering. Dad hasn't just stolen Sarah's life, he's built an entire criminal enterprise around her death. Sarah, how did this even start? The accident story, what really happened? She's quiet for so long I think she won't answer. Finally, we broke up. March 15, 2021. I found out he was seeing your mom behind my back, and I threatened to tell her about his gambling debts. He owed money to some very serious people in Atlantic City, over $80,000. My mom. Dad was cheating on Sarah with my mom, then married Mom 6 months after Sarah's death. The timeline I never questioned suddenly feels sinister. He came to my apartment that night, begging me not to tell Linda. Said he'd pay me back, that he just needed time. Sarah pulls out another document, a handwritten IOU dated March 16, 2021. I stupidly agreed to keep quiet if he got help for the gambling and paid me back within 6 months. But he didn't pay you back. He had a better idea. She shows me a printout of her own life insurance policy. He'd been the beneficiary since we started dating. All he had to do was make me disappear and wait for the payout. How did he fake your death? The police report, the identification. There really was an accident on I-95 that night. A woman driving alone, car fire, body burned beyond recognition. No ID found. Sarah's voice drops to barely a whisper. Your father has a contact in the medical examiner's office. Someone who owed him money from poker games. The pieces click together with horrifying precision. Dad didn't just opportunistically fake Sarah's death, he orchestrated it, using a real tragedy and a corrupt insider to create an airtight lie. Upstairs, the house settles with small creaks and sighs. Mom's asleep directly above us, completely unaware that her husband's dead ex-girlfriend is living in their basement while he systematically destroys both their lives. We're calling the FBI tomorrow, I whisper. Sarah grabs my wrist. Emma, you don't understand. He told me exactly what would happen if I ever tried to surface. Your mother's car has been having brake problems lately, hasn't it? My blood turns to ice. Mom mentioned her brakes felt spongy last week. Dad insisted on taking the Honda to his mechanic friend instead of the dealership. He's not going to hurt Mom. He's been planning contingencies for 3 years, Sarah says. Your father doesn't just play chess. He plays chess while building the board. I stare at the documents scattered across the coffee table, my accounting class is suddenly feeling like amateur hour. Dad hasn't just committed fraud, he's built a goddamn criminal empire with spreadsheets. There's something else, Sarah says, pulling out a leather notebook I hadn't noticed. He makes me keep a daily log. She hands it to me, and I flip it open to today's date. Sarah's handwriting, shaky but legible, * March 23rd, Emma discovered me at 3:47 p.m. Told her about insurance and credit cards. She wants to call FBI. Recommend immediate containment protocol, *. Containment protocol. My voice cracks. He trained me to document everything, including conversations about escape attempts. Sarah won't meet my eyes. If I don't write these reports, he withholds food. Or heat. Or he shows me more photos of your mom's daily routine. I flip back through pages of entries. * February 18th, heard Linda mention girls' trip to Virginia Beach. Potential complication if David needs alibi. February 25th, Emma brought friends over. Stayed hidden but noise level concerning, asterisk. Every page is Sarah cataloging her own imprisonment while monitoring my family's movements. Dad's turned her into an unwilling spy against the people living above her head. This is sick, I breathe. You're helping him surveil us. You think I have a choice? Sarah's voice breaks. Last month I missed 2 days because I had the flu. When I was finally able to write again, I found pictures of your mom's jogging route taped to my mirror. Taken from a car. With timestamps. The implications hit me like a freight train. Dad doesn't just threaten, he demonstrates capability. Mom jogs the same 3-mile loop every Tuesday and Thursday morning, earbuds in, completely vulnerable. My phone buzzes. A text from Dad, asterisk how's studying going, kiddo? Remember, accounting is all about finding the discrepancies others miss. Love you, asterisk. The timing can't be coincidental. I show Sarah the message. He has cameras down here, she whispers, scanning the ceiling. Not in the bathroom, but everywhere else. Audio too. He probably knows you found me before you even saw me. Then why? I stop mid-sentence, understanding flooding through me with cold certainty. This is another test. Sarah nods miserably. He's been testing your mom for 3 years. Small lies, checking if she investigates. Monitoring her computer searches, her phone calls. When she passes each test, she gets rewarded, jewelry, dinners out, that trip to Cabo last year. What happens if someone fails a test? Instead of answering, Sarah pulls out her phone, an ancient flip phone that barely qualifies as functional. She scrolls to a text thread and hands it to me. The messages are all from Dad, sent over the past 3 years. Asterisk Linda asked about the insurance paperwork today. Handled appropriately, asterisk Emma seemed curious about timeline inconsistencies. Monitor closely, asterisk neighbor Mrs. Peterson mentioned strange noises from basement. Suggest she develop hearing problems, asterisk. Mrs. Peterson, our 78-year-old neighbor who brings us tomatoes from her garden every summer. The woman who helped me learn to ride a bike when I was 7. What did he mean about her hearing problems? She fell down her front steps 2 weeks later. Badly injured her inner ear. Doctor said it would affect her balance and hearing permanently. Sarah's voice is flat, emotionless. Very unlucky accident. The basement suddenly feels too small, the walls closing in. Every creak from upstairs makes me jump. Mom's bedroom is directly above us. Is Dad watching her sleep through hidden cameras too? Sarah, how many people know you're alive? Just you and him. And now? She looks at me with something that might be pity. Now you're part of it whether you want to be or not. What do you mean? She flips to the back of the notebook, where Dad's handwriting takes over. Neat, precise notes in blue ink, asterisk Emma's discovery, contingency plans. Option 1, full integration. Option 2, controlled exposure. Option 3, family relocation protocols, asterisk. He's been planning for this moment since you started college, Sarah explains. Your business major, your accounting classes, he's been grooming you to eventually take over the financial management. Take over. Who do you think he expects to help him expand into new markets? The words hit me like a physical blow. New markets. Sarah flips to another section of the notebook, revealing what looks like a business plan written in Dad's meticulous handwriting. The header reads, Project Expansion, Phase 2 Implementation. He's been studying other couples, she whispers. Your mom's book club friends. Neighbors. Anyone with decent life insurance policies and messy personal lives. I scan the pages, my accounting training helping me parse the financial projections despite my horror. Revenue streams. Profit margins. ROI calculations for what he calls asset acquisition and liquidation. Linda Morrison, current wife, $275,000 policy, expires 2027. Patricia Chin Kim, book club, $180,000 policy, marital problems noted. Janet Stevens, neighbor, $340,000 policy, recent cancer scare creates opportunity. He's planning to kill mom. The words come out strangled. Not kill. Disappear. There's a difference in his mind. Sarah points to a flowchart labeled optimal transition scenarios. Your mother has been phase 2 from the beginning. He married her to establish deep emotional bonds with you and gain access to her social circle. But her policy expires in 4 years, so the timeline is accelerating. I flip through more pages, finding detailed psychological profiles of mom's friends. Patricia drinks too much wine at book club. Janet's been acting paranoid since her cancer diagnosis. Linda, my mom, has been taking sleeping pills since her father died last year. Emma, look at the dates, Sarah says softly. The planning documents span 3 years, but the handwriting changes. The earlier entries are Dad's neat script, but recent pages show 2 different writing styles. I recognize Dad's, but the second. You've been helping him plan this. Sarah's face crumbles. He started having me research insurance policies 6 months ago. Said it was theoretical, like a case study. When I refused, he showed me photos of you walking alone to your night classes. My Tuesday evening corporate finance class. The parking lot that's poorly lit, the route I take past the empty construction site. My mouth goes dry. He had someone following me. He follows everyone he cares about. Protection, he calls it. Sarah shows me another folder labeled Emma, Security Assessments. Photos of me leaving the library, getting coffee with friends, even sleeping in my dorm room last semester. He's been documenting your routine since you started college. The photos are time-stamped, annotated with details about my schedule, my friends, my vulnerabilities. There's even a financial analysis of my student loan debt and a projection of my future earning potential. Why is he tracking my finances? Because you're not just the next generation of management, Sarah says quietly. You're the exit strategy. When he's ready to disappear completely, you'll be the one left holding legal responsibility for everything. She shows me incorporation documents for something called Emma Morrison Financial Consulting LLC, a company I never knew existed, established 6 months ago with my social security number. That's not my signature. He's been practicing your handwriting for 2 years. Sarah pulls out pages of Dad's attempts to forge my signature, getting progressively more accurate. The company has been receiving payments from several of his shell corporations. On paper, you've made $89,000 in consulting fees this year. I've never seen a penny of that money, but according to these documents, I'm the primary business owner of a financial consulting firm that's been laundering money through fake death claims. Sarah, we have to run. Tonight. Both of us. With what resources? I'm legally dead, remember? And you're now legally complicit in multiple federal crimes. She points to the business documents. He spent 2 years creating an evidence trail that leads directly to you. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Dad, asterisk by the way, kiddo, I added you as an authorized user on my American Express. Time to build your credit history. The card should arrive Friday, asterisk. The American Express. I flip through Sarah's credit reports and find it, an American Express account under her stolen identity with a $50,000 limit. An account that shows my name as an authorized user as of today. He's linking me to your fake accounts. Every financial crime he's committed in my name now has your fingerprints on it too, Sarah confirms. If I surface and expose everything, the evidence trail leads investigators straight to you as my accomplice. The basement feels like it's spinning. Dad hasn't just been planning Mom's disappearance, he's been methodically building a case that would frame me for everything if his scheme ever unravels. There's something else, Sarah says, pulling out her flip phone. He's coming home early. She shows me a text from Dad, sent 20 minutes ago, asterisk family emergency requires immediate return. Landing at BWI at 11:47 p.m. See you soon, darling, asterisk. It's 10:23 p.m. He'll be home in less than 2 hours. That message wasn't meant for me, Sarah whispers. Check your mom's phone. I creep upstairs, my heart hammering so loud I'm sure it'll wake Mom. Her bedroom door is cracked open, and I can see her phone charging on the nightstand, the screen dark. She's sleeping peacefully, completely unaware that her husband is rushing home because his prisoner and accomplice just had an unscheduled meeting. Back in the basement, I show Sarah Mom's phone. No messages from Dad. No missed calls. The family emergency text was for you, I realize. He knows we talked. Sarah nods grimly. He probably watched the whole conversation through the cameras. Right now he's calculating whether to implement damage control or move straight to what he calls accelerated timeline protocols. What does that mean? Instead of answering, she pulls out another section of Dad's notebook I hadn't seen before. The tab reads, Emergency Procedures, and the pages are filled with detailed evacuation plans. Not for escaping, for disappearing people. If he feels the operation is compromised, he has 3 options, Sarah explains, pointing to a flowchart. Relocate the asset, that's me. Neutralize the threat, that would be you. Or execute immediate liquidation of all policies. Liquidation. The business term sounds so clinical, but I know exactly what it means in this context. Your mother's sleeping pill routine isn't accidental, Emma. He's been conditioning her to take higher doses, citing her stress about you being away at college. Sarah shows me a medication log in Dad's handwriting. Last month he switched her prescription to something stronger. The bottle in her medicine cabinet isn't what her doctor prescribed. The sleeping pills. Mom's been complaining about feeling groggy in the mornings, forgetting conversations we had the night before. I thought it was just stress from her job at the library, but Dad's been systematically drugging her. We have to wake her up. We have to leave right now. Emma, listen to me. Sarah grabs my shoulders, and I can feel how thin she's become under her baggy clothes. He has exit strategies for exit strategies. Your mom's car has a tracker. His business credit cards ping him whenever they're used. He has alerts set up for unusual activity on your student accounts, your social media, everything. Then what do you suggest? We just sit here and wait for him to kill us? We have 47 minutes before he lands. Probably another hour to get through the airport and drive home, assuming he doesn't hit traffic. Sarah's voice takes on an odd, mechanical quality, like she's reciting from memory. If we're going to move, it has to be smart. It has to be something he hasn't planned for. She pulls out a manila envelope I hadn't noticed before, hidden behind the other documents. Inside are copies of everything, the insurance fraud, the credit accounts, the business and corporation papers, even photographs of Dad's notebook entries. I've been documenting everything for 8 months, she whispers. Every conversation, every threat, every piece of evidence. He thinks I'm just following his orders to keep a daily log, but I've been building a case. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Because the moment I tell someone, we're committed. There's no going back. She meets my eyes, and for the first time tonight, I see something other than defeat in her expression. I've been waiting for the right person to trust. Someone he cares enough about that he might hesitate before implementing his worst contingencies. You mean someone he wouldn't immediately kill? He's invested 3 years in grooming you for this business, Emma. You're too valuable to eliminate unless he absolutely has to. Sarah's typing something into her ancient phone. I've been in contact with a federal investigator. Someone outside the local jurisdiction who can't be compromised by Dad's contacts. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number, asterisk this is Agent Sarah Martinez, FBI Financial Crimes Division. Sarah Kellerman has been providing information about insurance fraud operation. Need immediate extraction for both subjects. Can you confirm your location, asterisk. Agent Martinez has been investigating a pattern of suspicious insurance claims across 3 states, Sarah explains. Your father isn't the only one running this kind of operation, but he might be the biggest fish they've caught. I stare at the text message, my accounting training kicking in despite the surreal situation. If the FBI already knows about this, why haven't they arrested him? Because they need evidence of the full scope. Dad's been very careful to spread his crimes across multiple jurisdictions, multiple identities. They need someone on the inside who can testify about the complete operation. Someone like you. Someone like us. Sarah shows me another document, an immunity agreement draft with both our names on it. Agent Martinez can offer you full immunity in exchange for testimony, but only if we move tonight. Once your father implements emergency protocols, the evidence disappears and we become loose ends. Upstairs, I hear Mom's alarm clock radio click on. She must have hit the snooze button in her sleep. It's 10:51 p.m. Dad's plane has landed. My hands shake as I type back to Agent Martinez, *, we're here. How do we get out safely, *? The response comes immediately, *, extraction team en route. Do not leave basement. Do not wake other family members. Help is coming, *. Sarah starts stuffing documents back into the safe, her movements quick and practiced. Emma, whatever happens in the next hour, remember that your father is very good at making people believe his version of reality. The FBI knows the truth, but he's going to try to convince you that I'm lying, that this is all some elaborate setup. What if it is? The question slips out before I can stop it. What if you're not who you say you are? For a moment, Sarah stops moving entirely. Then she reaches into her pocket and pulls out something small and silver, a bracelet I gave her for her birthday 4 years ago. A cheap thing from the mall, engraved with "World's Best Almost Stepmom" in tiny letters. You gave me this the day you found out your parents were getting divorced, she says quietly. You said you hoped your dad would marry me instead of some stranger who didn't know that you like your grilled cheese cut diagonally and that you're afraid of moths. The memory hits me like a physical blow. I was 15, devastated that my family was falling apart, and Sarah had been the only adult who treated my feelings like they mattered. He threw away everything that was good, I whisper. No, Sarah says, pressing the bracelet into my palm. He tried to. But you're still here. You're still the kid who cares about people. That's what he never understood, that's what he can never plan for. Heavy footsteps cross the kitchen floor above us. Dad's home early. The footsteps stop directly above us. Sarah and I freeze, barely breathing, as we hear Dad moving around the kitchen. Cabinet doors opening and closing. The refrigerator door. Normal sounds that feel absolutely terrifying given what we now know. My phone buzzes with another text from Agent Martinez, * team delayed 20 minutes due to traffic. Stay hidden. Do not engage suspect, *. 20 minutes. Dad's home now. Why is he in the kitchen this late? I whisper. Sarah's face has gone completely white. He always checks the basement entry sensor when he gets home. It logs every time the door opens. She points to a tiny device mounted near the ceiling that I'd never noticed before. He knows exactly when you came down here tonight, and when you went back upstairs. The footsteps move toward the basement door. Sarah grabs my arm so tightly it hurts, pulling me behind the couch. We crouch there in the dark while the door at the top of the stairs creaks open. Emma. Dad's voice drifts down, casual and warm. I saw your car in the driveway. You down there studying? I can't answer. My throat has completely closed up. I brought you back some of those chocolate-covered pretzels you like from that place in Atlanta. His footsteps start down the stairs, slow and measured. Figured my hard-working college girl deserved a treat. Sarah is shaking so hard the couch cushions vibrate. She presses her face against my shoulder, and I can feel her trying not to hyperventilate. Dad reaches the bottom of the stairs. From our hiding spot behind the couch, I can see his legs, khakis and the brown leather shoes Mom bought him for Christmas. The shoes she paid for with money from Sarah's life insurance policy. Could have sworn I heard voices down here. He's scanning the basement, and I pray the false wall panel is still perfectly aligned. Emma must have gone to bed already. He moves toward the corner where Sarah's hidden living space is concealed. My heart pounds so loud I'm certain he can hear it. But instead of checking the wall panel, he walks to a filing cabinet I hadn't noticed before and pulls out a thick folder. Just need to grab some documents for tomorrow's meeting, he says, apparently to himself. But his voice carries that performative quality, like he knows he has an audience. He knows we're here. Sarah realizes it too. She starts to stand up, probably figuring we're caught anyway, but I pull her back down. Through the gap under the couch, I watch Dad's feet as he moves around the basement with purpose. He's not searching randomly, he's following a specific routine. He stops at the fake kitchen area and opens what I now realize must be another hidden cabinet. The sound of papers rustling, then what sounds like a scanner or copy machine running. He's not just grabbing documents, he's copying them. You know what, Emma? His voice is louder now, definitely intended for us to hear. I was thinking on the plane ride home. You're 20 years old now, old enough to understand adult complications. Maybe it's time we had a real conversation about family finances. The copying machine stops. Dad's footsteps move closer to our hiding spot. I mean, you're an accounting major. You understand that sometimes life requires creative bookkeeping solutions. His voice has lost all pretense of warmth. And sometimes families have to make difficult choices together. A new sound, the beep of numbers being punched into the safe. Sarah tenses beside me as Dad inputs the combination we watched her use earlier, 0847. The thing is, kiddo, I've always planned for you to join the family business eventually. Maybe sooner than I originally thought. Documents rustling again, but different ones this time. Did you know that your new credit cards arrived today? The ones for your consulting company. My consulting company. The one I never agreed to create. I took the liberty of activating them for you. The American Express, the business visa, even a nice little corporate account with Commerce Bank. His voice is getting closer. Funny thing about business credit, once you start using it, you become legally responsible for all associated debts and activities. Behind the couch, Sarah mouths something to me, he's stalling. Of course he is. Dad knows the FBI is coming. He's had cameras down here for months, he probably heard every word of our conversation with Agent Martinez. Right now he's not trying to catch us, he's trying to buy time to implement whatever contingency plan covers federal intervention. Emma, I know you're down here. Dad's voice is now directly on the other side of the couch. And Sarah, sweetheart, I know you showed her our business records. Sarah slowly raises her head above the couch back. Dad is standing there with a manila envelope in one hand and what looks like a tablet in the other. Hello, darling, he says to Sarah with gentle affection that makes my skin crawl. I see you've been making new friends. The FBI knows everything, Sarah says quietly. The FBI knows what I've allowed them to know. Dad settles into the armchair across from us like we're having a normal family meeting. Agent Martinez has been very helpful, actually. Did you know she's been feeding me information about their investigation timeline? My blood turns to ice. What? Oh, Emma. You didn't really think this was the first time someone's tried to expose our operation, did you? Dad opens the tablet, showing us what looks like an email thread. Agent Martinez contacted me 6 months ago. Seems the Bureau is very interested in recruiting experienced financial consultants for their fraud division. Sarah grabs my hand, her fingers ice cold. That's impossible. She had details about. Details I provided. Dad's smile is patient, almost paternal. You see, girls, the beauty of a truly comprehensive business plan is that it accounts for all possible scenarios, including federal investigation. He shows us the tablet screen. It's an email from Agent Martinez to Dad, dated 3 weeks ago. Asterisk subject has responded well to controlled exposure plan. Recommend proceeding to Phase 3 integration protocols, asterisk. Agent Martinez works for you, I whisper. Agent Martinez works for the Bureau. But the Bureau occasionally works with private consultants when they need expertise in complex financial crimes. Dad sets down the tablet and opens his envelope. I've been helping them investigate insurance fraud rings across the Southeast for 18 months. Very rewarding work. The implications crash over me like a wave. There is no rescue team coming. There is no immunity deal. Agent Martinez isn't Sarah's secret contact with law enforcement, she's Dad's contact with law enforcement. The FBI thinks you're helping them catch criminals like you. The FBI thinks I'm a reformed criminal who's turned his expertise toward catching people like I used to be. Dad's voice takes on a lecturing tone, like he's explaining a difficult accounting concept. They have no idea that the cases I help them solve are my own competition. Sarah makes a sound that might be a laugh or a sob. You're using federal law enforcement to eliminate business rivals. I'm using federal law enforcement to corner the market, Dad corrects gently. Much more efficient than the old territorial methods. Sarah's face crumples as the full scope of Dad's manipulation becomes clear. The immunity agreement was fake. The immunity agreement was real, Dad says, pulling out another set of documents. Agent Martinez does have authority to offer deals to cooperating witnesses. But the cooperation she needs isn't testimony against me, it's testimony against my competitors. He spreads papers across the coffee table like he's presenting a business proposal. Financial records, surveillance photos, recorded conversations, all targeting other insurance fraud operations across Virginia, Maryland, and North Carolina. The Hendersons in Richmond, $890,000 in fraudulent claims over 2 years. The Chin family in Baltimore, they've been running a medical billing scheme worth $1.2 million annually. And my personal favorite, the Kowalski Group in Charlotte, they're trafficking fake death certificates through a network of corrupted funeral directors. I scan the documents, recognizing the professional formatting from Dad's other business files. You've been building cases against all of them. I've been eliminating inefficient competition while positioning myself as an invaluable federal asset. Dad taps the tablet screen. Agent Martinez's team has made 17 arrests based on intelligence I provided. The Bureau considers me their most successful confidential informant in financial crimes. But you're committing the same crimes, I protest. I'm committing better crimes. Cleaner methods, smaller scope, lower risk profiles. His voice takes on that proud tone he uses when explaining successful business strategies. The beauty of being a federal informant is that my own activities receive significantly less scrutiny. Who investigates the investigator's best source? Sarah stands up slowly, swaying slightly. How long have you been planning this conversation? Since you started college, Emma. Though I'll admit, I expected it to happen during your senior year internship, not your sophomore spring break. Dad glances at his watch, a new Rolex I haven't seen before. Agent Martinez suggested we accelerate the timeline when Sarah began showing signs of what she called integration resistance. Integration resistance. Sarah's been less cooperative with her documentation duties lately. Missing entries, incomplete surveillance reports, asking too many questions about exit strategies. Dad's voice sharpens slightly. The Bureau prefers their witnesses to be fully committed to the cooperation process. I look at Sarah, understanding dawning with sick clarity. The FBI knows she's alive. Agent Martinez has known about Sarah's situation from the beginning. In fact, she helped design the living arrangements down here. Dad gestures around the basement with something approaching pride. Federal witness protection doesn't always require official relocation. Sometimes the safest place to hide someone is right under everyone's nose. Witness protection. Sarah's voice cracks. You told me I was a prisoner. You are a prisoner, darling. But you're a federal prisoner now, not just mine. Much better legal protections. Dad pulls out another document, official FBI letterhead with Sarah's name at the top. Agent Martinez filed your witness protection paperwork 8 months ago. Congratulations, you're now Sarah Kellerman Morrison, protected federal witness in ongoing organized crime investigations. The hyphenated last name hits me like a slap. You married her. Proxy marriage through a Nevada legal service. Very convenient for tax purposes and spousal privilege protections. Dad shows us a marriage certificate dated 6 months ago. Don't worry, Emma, it doesn't affect my marriage to your mother. Agent Martinez helped arrange the documentation so there wouldn't be any legal conflicts. My head is spinning. Mom doesn't know. Your mother knows I occasionally work with federal law enforcement on financial consulting projects. She doesn't need to know the specific details about my consulting methodology. Dad's smile turns cold. And she certainly doesn't need to know about the additional insurance policies I've taken out on her behalf. Sarah lunges toward Dad, but her weakened state makes it pathetic rather than threatening. He catches her wrist easily, almost gently. Now, Sarah, we've talked about emotional outbursts. Agent Martinez was very clear about maintaining professional composure during family integration meetings. He guides her back to the couch with what looks like practiced patience. Remember, you're representing the Bureau now. Your behavior reflects on their program. Integration meetings. My voice sounds hollow. Welcome to the family business, kiddo. Dad opens his laptop. When did he bring that down? Agent Martinez is waiting on a video call to explain your new consulting position with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The laptop screen flickers to life, showing a professional-looking woman in her 40s sitting in what appears to be a government office. Behind her, I can see official FBI seals and certificates on the wall. Hello, Emma, she says with a warm smile. I'm Agent Martinez. Your father has told me so much about your accounting skills. I need to verify your identity, I say, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounds. Show me your badge number and field office. Agent Martinez's smile falters slightly. Emma, I understand this is overwhelming. Badge number, I repeat, pulling out my phone. If you're really FBI, it should be in the public directory. Dad's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Emma, don't be difficult. Agent Martinez has been very accommodating to our family situation. Our family situation, I echo, keeping my eyes on the screen. You mean the situation where you've been committing federal crimes for 3 years while pretending to help investigate them? I've been preventing federal crimes, Dad corrects. The Henderson operation alone would have defrauded insurance companies of over $2 million if I hadn't provided intelligence to stop them. Agent Martinez leans forward on the screen. Emma, your father's cooperation has been invaluable to the Bureau. We've recovered over $8 million in fraudulent claims thanks to his insights. His insights, I say slowly, into crimes he was committing himself. Reformed criminals often make the best investigators, she replies smoothly. Your father's expertise comes from lived experience. Sarah speaks up from beside me, her voice stronger than it's been all night. What's the case number for my witness protection file? I'm sorry. Agent Martinez blinks. Every federal witness protection case has a file number. A WP classification code. What's mine? Sarah's gotten steadier, more focused. And what's the name of my assigned U.S. Marshal? The pause is too long. Agent Martinez glances off-screen, presumably at Dad, before responding. That information is classified for security purposes. Bullshit. Sarah stands up, steadier now. I know how witness protection works because I looked it up on the library computer 6 months ago. Protected witnesses aren't kept in basements by their alleged perpetrators. They're relocated with new identities. Dad sighs, like he's dealing with a particularly stubborn business partner. Sarah, we've discussed this. Your situation required unconventional arrangements. My situation required you to keep collecting my life insurance money while pretending to cooperate with federal agents. Sarah turns to the laptop screen. What's your supervisor's name, Agent Martinez? Sarah, I need you to understand that questioning federal authority can result in revocation of your protection status. What federal authority? Sarah laughs, and it's the first genuine sound I've heard from her all night. Emma, look at the wall behind her. I squint at the screen. The certificates behind Agent Martinez are too blurry to read clearly, but something about them looks off. The FBI seal seems slightly wrong, the proportions aren't quite right. Those are stock photos, Sarah continues. I've seen that exact office background on freelancer websites. It's a green screen effect. Dad closes the laptop with a sharp snap. Enough. The basement goes quiet except for the hum of the hidden ventilation system. Dad sits back in his chair, studying both of us with the calculating expression I remember from my childhood when he was working through complex business problems. You're both much cleverer than I anticipated, he says finally. Agent Martinez was supposed to be more convincing. There is no Agent Martinez, I say. Oh, there's an Agent Martinez. She works in the Richmond field office. Very dedicated fraud investigator. Dad pulls out his phone and shows us a LinkedIn profile. I've been studying her communication patterns and case history for 8 months. Sarah moves closer to me on the couch. You've been impersonating a federal agent. I've been consulting with federal methodology while maintaining operational flexibility. Dad's tone suggests he genuinely believes there's a difference. The important thing is that both of you now understand the full scope of our business model. Our business model. Emma, you're 20 years old with a 3.7 GPA in accounting and access to student loan databases, university financial systems, and young adult social networks I could never penetrate. Dad opens a new folder, revealing what looks like a business plan with my name on the cover. Your mother's book club friends were just practice. Your generation is the real market. The folder contains profiles of my classmates, their financial information, their family situations. Jessica Wong, whose parents just bought a vacation home. Michael Torres, whose girlfriend recently inherited money from her grandmother. Stephanie Kim, whose father owns 3 restaurants. You want me to help you target college students? I want you to help me target college students' families, Dad corrects. Young adults are perfect access points to established household wealth. They trust easily, they share financial information casually, and they have legitimate reasons to ask their parents about insurance policies and investment accounts. My hands shake as I flip through the profiles. These are my friends, my study partners, people I grab coffee with between classes. The beauty of the college market is scale, Dad continues enthusiastically. Instead of managing 1 or 2 cases at a time, we could be running 20 or 30 simultaneous operations. Conservative projections suggest annual revenues of 12 to 15 million within 3 years. What happens to Mom in this scenario? Dad's expression doesn't change. Your mother has been a valuable beta test for integration protocols. Her book club network provided excellent practice for social engineering techniques. That's not what I asked. Your mother's life insurance policy matures next year. At that point, she becomes more valuable as a liquidated asset than an operational partner. He says this like he's discussing quarterly earnings projections. Don't worry, I've already identified her replacement. Patricia from book club has been responding very well to my advances. The casual way he discusses murdering my mother makes my stomach turn. You're insane. I'm efficient. Emma, look around you. Dad gestures at the basement setup, his voice taking on that proud tone again. 3 years ago I was a failed day trader with gambling debts and a cheating girlfriend threatening to expose my financial problems. Today I'm running a multi-million-dollar consulting operation with federal law enforcement connections and a succession plan that includes my brilliant daughter. Sarah grabs my arm. Emma, he's not going to let us leave this basement. Of course I'm not, Dad agrees pleasantly. But you're not prisoners anymore. You're partners. Dad pulls out 2 more folders, setting them on the coffee table like he's presenting employee handbooks. Sarah, your new position is Director of Surveillance and Documentation. Emma, you'll be Vice President of Campus Acquisition. You can't be serious, I breathe. I'm completely serious. And I'm offering you both something extraordinary, the chance to build a generational wealth empire together. His eyes gleam with that familiar entrepreneurial excitement that used to make me proud when I was younger. Emma, do you have any idea what your accounting degree is worth in this industry? Sarah, your 3 years of operational experience make you invaluable. Sarah laughs bitterly. My 3 years of being your captive. Your 3 years of learning every aspect of this business from the ground up, Dad corrects. You understand client psychology, documentation systems, risk management protocols. Most Fortune 500 executives don't have that kind of comprehensive training. I flip open the folder with my name on it. Inside is a detailed organizational chart showing Morrison Family Enterprises, with Dad as CEO, me as VP of Acquisitions, and Sarah as Director of Operations. Below us are empty boxes labeled Campus Representatives, presumably my classmates who help recruit their own families for victimization. This is completely insane, I say, but I keep reading despite myself. The financial projections are staggeringly detailed. Revenue streams broken down by university, target demographics organized by family net worth, expansion timelines mapped across the entire Mid-Atlantic region. What's insane is leaving money on the table, Dad responds. Do you know how many college students have parents with inadequate insurance coverage? How many families have assets sitting in poorly structured trusts? How many middle-aged couples are going through emotional crises that make them vulnerable to social manipulation? Sarah points to one section of the business plan. These aren't just financial crimes, David. You're talking about systematically destroying hundreds of families. I'm talking about systematically optimizing underutilized assets, he says, like he's explaining basic economics. Most people don't maximize their insurance potential anyway. We're simply helping them realize that value more efficiently. The euphemisms make it worse somehow. He's turned murder and fraud into corporate buzzwords. Dad, what happened to you? The question slips out before I can stop it. You used to coach my soccer team. You helped me with my science fair projects. When did you become this? For the first time tonight, his mask slips slightly. Something raw flickers across his face before the businessman persona reasserts itself. I became this when your mother's first husband left her with $80,000 in credit card debt and a mortgage she couldn't afford, he says quietly. When I was working 60-hour weeks just to keep us afloat while he sent Christmas cards from his new life in California. My biological father. I barely remember him, he left when I was 6. I became this when my own parents died in that nursing home, Emma. When their life insurance barely covered the funeral costs because they'd been too trusting, too naive about financial planning. His voice hardens. I became this when I realized that good people finish broke, and smart people finish rich. So you decided to kill good people and steal their money? I decided to stop being a victim of other people's poor financial decisions. Dad stands up, pacing the small basement space. Your mother's book club friends complain constantly about money problems, but they all have life insurance policies worth more than most people make in 5 years. They're literally worth more dead than alive. That doesn't give you the right. Rights? Dad stops pacing, staring at me with something approaching pity. Emma, rights are what lawyers argue about after the money's already been distributed. Results are what matter. Sarah speaks up from beside me. What happens if we say no? Dad considers this, tilting his head like he's working through a complex equation. Well, Sarah, you're legally dead, so refusing employment would be problematic for your long-term survival prospects. And Emma, you're now legally complicit in multiple federal crimes through your business incorporation and credit activities. You forged my signature on those documents. Prove it, he says simply. The handwriting analysis will show consistency with your known signatures. The IP addresses for the online applications trace back to your laptop and phone. Your fingerprints are on the credit cards I had delivered to your dorm room. My stomach drops. What credit cards? The ones that arrived yesterday while you were in class. I had your roommate Rachel sign for them. Very helpful girl, she mentioned you've been stressed about finances lately. Dad pulls out his phone and shows me photos of credit cards addressed to me. The American Express, the Business Visa, and a nice Discover card with a $25,000 limit. All activated and ready to use. I never applied for those. The applications say otherwise. Filed from your computer, using your university internet connection, with all your correct personal information. He swipes to show me screenshots of completed credit applications. Funny thing about university Wi-Fi, it keeps detailed logs of which devices accessed which websites. Sarah grabs my hand. He's been planning this for months. I've been planning this for years, Dad corrects. Did you think I chose your university randomly, Emma? Northeastern has one of the most comprehensive business programs in the region, with students from some of the wealthiest families on the East Coast. The full scope starts to hit me. My college choice, my major, probably even some of my friendships, how much of my life has been orchestrated by Dad's business plan. The student loans you helped me apply for, I say slowly. Legitimate educational debt that also established your credit profile and financial independence from your mother, Dad confirms. Very important for liability separation when you start operating your own division. My own division. He opens another section of the business plan labeled Campus Expansion Strategy. It shows Northeastern as Phase 1, with plans to expand to Georgetown, George Washington University, and Virginia Tech over the next 2 years. Each campus needs local management, Emma. Students who understand the social dynamics, who can identify high-value targets, who can build trust with potential assets. Dad's voice takes on that excited tone again. You'll be training the next generation of financial consultants. You mean the next generation of murderers? I mean the next generation of wealth optimization specialists, he says firmly. Emma, we're not monsters. We're entrepreneurs solving a market inefficiency. I stare at the business plan in my hands, my accounting training automatically processing the numbers despite my horror. The projected revenues, the operational costs, the risk assessments, it's all professionally formatted, meticulously calculated, completely insane. Emma, you need to understand something, Dad says, settling back into his chair. This conversation was always going to happen. The only variable was timing. What do you mean? He pulls out his phone and scrolls through what looks like a calendar app. Your sophomore year accounting courses end next month. Summer internship season starts in June. I've already arranged for you to interview with Morrison Financial Consulting. Congratulations, you got the position. My blood turns cold. What internship? The one Professor Williams recommended you for. Excellent pay, flexible hours, real-world experience in financial analysis. Dad shows me an email exchange between him and my corporate accounting professor. Dr. Williams was very impressed with your grade on the insurance fraud case study assignment. The case study. 3 weeks ago, we had to analyze a fictional insurance fraud scenario and identify the red flags that should have alerted investigators. I got an A+. You wrote that assignment, I whisper. I consulted on the educational content, yes. Dr. Williams wanted a realistic scenario for her students to examine. Dad's smile is proud, paternal. Your analysis was brilliant, Emma. You identified weaknesses in the fraud scheme that I hadn't even considered. Sarah makes a strangled sound. You've been using her coursework to improve your methods. I've been using her coursework to prepare her for advanced responsibilities, Dad corrects. Emma, do you remember your recommendation for preventing the fraud in that case study? I do remember. I'd suggested implementing cross-referencing systems between insurance companies and medical examiners' offices, creating digital trails that would make false death certificates harder to forge. You implemented my recommendations. I implemented your improvements to my existing systems, he says. Your suggestions increased operational security by approximately 40%. Dr. Williams was so impressed, she's considering submitting your analysis to the National Insurance Fraud Prevention Conference. The thought of my work being presented at a professional conference would normally thrill me. Now it makes me nauseous. How long have you been manipulating my education? I prefer optimizing your learning opportunities, Dad says. Your freshman year financial ethics course, your business law electives, even your statistics requirements, I may have provided input to ensure you developed relevant skill sets. I think about my academic advisor, Ms. Chen, who'd seemed so knowledgeable about my career interests. How she'd steered me towards specific courses that would enhance my practical business applications. Ms. Chen works for you. Ms. Chen is a very dedicated educational consultant who understands the importance of connecting classroom theory with real-world experience. Dad opens another folder. She's also been monitoring your academic performance and social connections to identify students with compatible skill sets for potential recruitment. The folder contains profiles of my classmates, but not the ones I'd seen before. These are students from my accounting courses: Brandon Mueller, whose family owns a chain of funeral homes; Jessica Park, whose mother works in hospital administration; Thomas Rivera, whose father manages estate planning for wealthy retirees. You want to recruit my study group? I want to offer your most talented peers the opportunity to join a thriving family business, Dad says. Brandon's knowledge of funeral industry protocols would be invaluable. Jessica has access to medical record systems. Thomas understands estate law. Sarah grabs the folder, scanning the profiles. David, these are children. These are young adults with specialized knowledge and family connections that could benefit our operation significantly, he responds. Emma, your generation doesn't think like previous generations. You're more flexible, more willing to challenge traditional ethical frameworks. You mean we're easier to manipulate? I mean you're more open to innovative business models. Dad stands up, moving toward a whiteboard I hadn't noticed mounted on the basement wall. Let me show you the expansion timeline. He flips the whiteboard around, revealing a detailed chart mapping out what he calls Phase 2 implementation. My name appears at the top of an organizational pyramid, with lines connecting to my classmates' names, then their family members, then their social networks. Conservative estimates suggest your immediate social circle provides access to approximately 340 potential targets, Dad explains, pointing to different sections of the chart. Factor in secondary connections through your classmates' families, and we're looking at over 800 viable opportunities. The scope is staggering. This isn't just about Mom or Sarah or even my dad's sick individual crimes. He's planning to turn my entire university experience into a recruitment pipeline for a criminal organization. The beauty of the college model is trust acceleration, he continues enthusiastically. Young adults form intense friendships quickly. They share personal information freely. They invite each other into their family dynamics in ways that would take years to achieve through traditional social engineering. I think about study sessions at Jessica's house, where her parents always invited my friends to stay for dinner. Game nights at Brandon's apartment, where his mom would call to check in and somehow end up chatting with all of us. Casual conversations about family finances, insurance policies, inheritance expectations. You've been coaching me to gather intelligence on my friends' families. I've been encouraging you to develop meaningful relationships that could benefit everyone involved, Dad says. Emma, your friends trust you. Their parents see you as a positive influence. You have access to information that professional investigators could never obtain. Information you want to use to destroy their lives. Information I want to use to optimize underutilized assets within their family structures, he corrects again, like the euphemism makes it acceptable. Sarah stands up shakily. Emma, we have to get out of here. Tonight. Right now. Dad checks his watch, it's nearly midnight. Actually, Sarah, we have a problem with that plan. He pulls out his phone and shows us a text message from someone labeled M. Rodriguez, * package delivered successfully. Subject secured until further instructions, *. Who's M. Rodriguez? I ask, though I'm afraid I already know. Miguel Rodriguez is a very reliable contractor who handles various operational requirements for our business, Dad says casually. Tonight, he helped ensure your mother's safety during this family meeting. The basement floor seems to tilt under my feet. Where is Mom? Your mother is perfectly safe, Emma. She's simply been relocated to a secure location until we finish our business discussions. Dad's tone is reassuring, like he's explaining a minor scheduling change. Miguel specializes in pharmaceutical sleep aids. Very gentle, very professional. You drugged her. I ensured she wouldn't be disturbed by our late-night business meeting, he says. The sleeping medication I've been giving her made the transition seamless. She won't even remember being moved. Sarah sinks back onto the couch. Where did you take her? Somewhere comfortable, private, and completely secure. Dad sits back down, folding his hands like we're discussing vacation plans. She'll remain there until both of you commit to the family business structure I've outlined. The leverage is perfect, absolute. Mom is gone, we're trapped, and Dad holds all the cards. What exactly are you asking us to do? My voice sounds hollow. Dad smiles, pulling out 2 contracts from his briefcase. I'm asking you to sign employment agreements with Morrison Family Enterprises, effective immediately. The contracts are thick, professional documents with official-looking seals and legal terminology that would take hours to parse completely. But the key terms are highlighted in yellow: exclusive employment with Morrison Family Enterprises. Non-disclosure agreements regarding all business operations. Performance quotas beginning June 1st. Termination clause, mutual agreement of all parties required. Performance quotas. I flipped through the pages, my accounting training helping me decode the dense legal language. You want me to deliver 12 qualified prospects by the end of summer. 12 families from your social network who meet our asset requirements, Dad confirms. The compensation structure is very generous, $25,000 base salary plus 15% commission on successful acquisitions. Sarah reads over my shoulder. Successful acquisitions meaning families where we implement complete financial optimization strategies, Dad says smoothly. Insurance policy maximization, estate restructuring, legacy planning services. Murder. He means murder, but he can't seem to say the word even in a basement with his victims. And if we refuse to sign? Dad's expression doesn't change. Well, your mother's current accommodations are comfortable but temporary. Miguel's facility isn't designed for long-term guests. The threat hangs in the air like smoke. I scan the contract again, looking for loopholes, escape clauses, anything that might give us leverage. But it's professionally drafted, probably by the same legal consultant who helped him fake Sarah's death certificate. You have until 6 a.m. to decide, Dad continues, checking his phone. Miguel's morning shift change happens then. After that, your mother's situation becomes significantly more complicated. 6 hours. It's 12:17 a.m. now. What happens to Mom if we sign? Your mother returns home safely and continues her normal life, with some minor modifications to her social activities. Dad opens another folder. Linda will be transitioning away from her library position to focus on family business administration. Her book club friends will become our primary client base. Client base. These people really will become his clients, right up until he kills them for their insurance money. Sarah speaks up. And if Emma signs but I refuse? Sarah, darling, you're legally dead. Refusal isn't really an option for you. His voice takes on that gentle, patronizing tone. But I understand this is a significant career transition. I'm prepared to offer you additional incentives. He slides another document across the table. Full life insurance restoration, legitimate identity documentation, and a signing bonus of $50,000 deposited into accounts under your new legal name. My new legal name? Sarah Morrison Kellerman. As my legal wife, you're entitled to all the benefits of family business partnership. Dad's smile is warm, almost loving. Emma, you'll have a stepmother who truly understands the intricacies of our work. The psychological manipulation is breathtaking. He's offering Sarah everything she's lost, identity, freedom, money, in exchange for helping him destroy other families the way he destroyed hers. I need to use the bathroom, I say suddenly. Dad nods toward the corner where I now notice there's a small door I'd missed before. Of course. Take your time to think everything over. The bathroom is tiny but real, toilet, sink, even a small shower. More evidence of how long Dad's been planning this basement setup. But more importantly, it has a small window at ground level, probably for emergency egress according to building codes. The window is painted shut and looks like it hasn't been opened in years, but it's there. About 18 inches wide, maybe 12 inches tall. I could fit through it, barely. Sarah definitely could. I flush the toilet for cover noise and examine the window more carefully. The paint is thick but cracked in places. With the right tools, it could be opened. And it faces the backyard, away from any neighbors who might see someone climbing out. When I return to the main basement area, Dad and Sarah are having what looks like an intense whispered conversation. They stop talking when they see me. Everything all right, kiddo? Dad asks. Fine. Just thinking about the contract terms. I settle back onto the couch, positioning myself so I can see both of them clearly. I have some questions about the organizational structure. Of course. I love your attention to detail. Dad pulls out the whiteboard marker, genuinely excited to discuss his criminal empire like it's a legitimate business venture. If I'm VP of campus acquisition, what exactly does that make Sarah's role in relation to mine? Sarah handles operational security and documentation oversight. You focus on client development and relationship management. He draws lines between our names on the organizational chart. Complementary skill sets, separate reporting structures. But she's also your wife now. Doesn't that create a conflict of interest? Dad pauses, marker halfway to the whiteboard. It's the first time tonight I've seen him look uncertain about anything. The marriage is purely for legal protection purposes, he says carefully. Business operations maintain professional hierarchy regardless of personal relationships. Sarah's watching this exchange with growing alertness. I think she's starting to understand that I'm probing for weaknesses in Dad's grand plan. What about succession planning? I continue. If something happens to you, who takes over the business? Well, naturally, as my daughter and primary heir. Dad stops, realizing the problem. If Sarah is legally his wife, she'd have claims to business assets that could complicate his plans for me. Right, I say quietly. So Sarah would inherit control of the business, not me. For the first time tonight, Dad looks genuinely rattled. I watch Dad's face cycle through several emotions as he realizes the legal trap he's created for himself. Sarah as his legal wife would have inheritance rights that could undermine his long-term plans for me to take over the business. The marriage documentation can be adjusted if necessary, he says slowly, but I can hear the uncertainty creeping into his voice for the first time tonight. Adjusted how? Sarah asks, and there's something sharper in her tone now. I'm either legally married to you or I'm not, David. Legal documents are surprisingly flexible when you have the right connections, Dad says, but he's moving toward his laptop with the kind of quick, nervous energy I remember from his gambling days. Miguel has contacts in the Nevada marriage licensing office. He's scrambling now, trying to solve a problem he hadn't fully considered. The marriage that was supposed to give Sarah legal protection and him operational control has created a succession nightmare. Actually, I say, pulling out my phone and pretending to calculate something, if Sarah is your legal wife and business partner, and I'm an employee of the company, wouldn't that make her my boss? The silence stretches for almost 30 seconds while Dad works through the implications. Sarah's watching him with growing fascination, like she's seeing him truly off balance for the first time in 3 years. The corporate structure would need some refinement, he admits finally. What kind of refinement? Sarah stands up, and for the first time tonight she seems to be gaining strength rather than losing it. Because according to these contracts, Morrison Family Enterprises is structured as a family partnership. That means spousal ownership rights supersede employee relationships. Dad starts typing rapidly on his laptop. I can restructure the incorporation paperwork tonight. Change the business model to a sole proprietorship with contracted employees. But you already filed tax returns showing it as a partnership, I point out, remembering the documents I'd seen earlier. The IRS doesn't usually let you just change business structures retroactively without triggering audits. The IRS can be managed, Dad says, but his voice has lost that confident tone. Sarah moves closer to the filing cabinet where Dad keeps his documents. David, show Emma the real incorporation papers. The ones from when you first started this operation. Sarah, that's not relevant to our current discussion. Show her. Sarah's voice carries an authority I haven't heard from her before. Show her who the original business partners were listed as. Dad's hands stop moving on the keyboard. In the silence, I can hear the house settling above us, the hum of the ventilation system, the distant sound of a car driving past on our street. Normal sounds from a normal world that feels impossibly far away. The original partners, I say quietly, understanding beginning to dawn. It wasn't just you, was it? Sarah opens the filing cabinet and pulls out a thick folder I hadn't seen before. The tab reads, Morrison Kellerman Enterprises, original documentation. Your father didn't start this business alone, Emma, she says, spreading papers across the coffee table. We started it together. Before everything went wrong. I stare at incorporation documents dated 4 years ago, showing Morrison Kellerman Enterprises as a legitimate financial consulting firm. Sarah Kellerman, 50% owner. David Morrison, 50% owner. Both signatures genuine, both dates predating Sarah's supposed death by 8 months. You were his real business partner, I whisper. I was his business partner, his girlfriend, and the person who discovered he was stealing from our clients, Sarah says, her voice getting stronger with each word. The insurance fraud, the fake death, it all started when I threatened to report him to the state licensing board. Dad finally looks up from his laptop, his face completely calm again. Sarah, you're misremembering the timeline. I'm remembering it perfectly. Sarah pulls out more documents, bank statements, client files, correspondence with state regulatory agencies. Morrison Kellerman Enterprises was a real company, David. We had real clients paying real fees for legitimate financial planning services. She shows me client files dating back 5 years. Estate planning for elderly couples, college saving strategies for young families, retirement portfolio management for middle-aged professionals. Normal, legal financial consulting work. What happened? I ask, though I'm starting to piece it together. Your father started gambling again, Sarah says simply. He was borrowing from client escrow accounts to cover his poker debts. When I found out, he'd already stolen over $200,000. The number hits me like a physical blow. $200,000. Dad, that's multiple felony counts of client fraud and embezzlement, Sarah finishes. I spent 3 weeks trying to figure out how to replace the money without destroying our clients' lives. Mrs. Patterson's retirement fund, the Kowalski family's college savings, even the memorial trust for little Amy Chen's medical expenses. Dad's face has gone completely blank, that mask he wears when he's calculating his next move. Sarah, you're confusing legitimate business loans with. I'm not confusing anything. Sarah pulls out a thick stack of bank statements, her hands surprisingly steady now. Emma, look at these dates. March 2021, $15,000 withdrawn from the Patterson account. March 8, $22,000 from the Kowalski Education Fund. March 12, $8,000 from the Chen Memorial Trust. I scan the statements, my accounting training automatically tracking the pattern. These are all the week before your supposed death. The week I gave him an ultimatum, Sarah confirms. Replace the money by March 20th or I'd report everything to the State Attorney General's office myself. Dad stands up abruptly, moving toward the filing cabinet. Sarah, you're presenting a very selective version of events. I'm presenting the version that includes criminal evidence, she says, not backing down. Emma, your father had exactly 5 days to come up with $200,000. That's when he started researching insurance fraud methods. She shows me a browser history printout dated March 16, 2021. The searches make my stomach turn: fake death certificate requirements, medical examiner identification procedures, insurance claim investigation timelines, presumed death legal requirements. You plan to fake your death from the moment Sarah threatened to expose you, I say. I plan to solve a temporary cash flow problem using available resources, Dad replies, his voice taking on that corporate euphemism tone again. Available resources? Sarah laughs, but it's not a happy sound. David, you researched methods for murdering me for 3 solid days. She pulls out more printed pages, searches for undetectable poisons, accident staging techniques, body disposal methods. The timestamps show Dad spent over 40 hours researching ways to kill her. These searches were purely theoretical risk assessment, Dad says, but his voice sounds hollow now. I was exploring all possible solutions to our business crisis. Including actual murder, I point out. Including permanent problem resolution, he corrects, still unable to say the words directly. Sarah turns to another section of documents. Emma, the car accident story. Your father spent $8,000 bribing a morgue attendant to misidentify burned remains from a real accident. He had backup plans involving a boat explosion, a hiking disappearance, even a fake home invasion. The methodical planning is what terrifies me most. This wasn't a crime of passion or a desperate moment of poor judgment. Dad spent days researching the most efficient way to murder someone he'd claimed to love. But something went wrong, I realize, looking at both of them. You didn't die in the accident. Because there was no accident, Sarah says quietly. The night David was supposed to implement his plan, I was already gone. Dad's mask finally slips completely. You were supposed to be at your apartment. I was supposed to be dead, Sarah corrects. But I'd been monitoring your computer activities, David. I knew exactly what you were planning. She shows me bank records I hadn't seen before, a savings account under Sarah Kellerman with a balance of $47,000, all transactions dated March 19, 2021. I liquidated everything I could and disappeared, she explains. My car, my jewelry, even my grandmother's china set. I thought if I vanished on my own terms, you'd assume the plan worked and leave me alone. Instead, he reported you dead anyway, I finish. Instead, he implemented the insurance fraud without actually killing me first, Sarah says. Much cleaner from his perspective. No actual murder, just paperwork manipulation and some very convincing acting at my funeral. Dad sits back down heavily, running his hands through his hair. The original plan required significant operational adjustments when the primary asset became unavailable. The primary asset, I repeat. You mean Sarah. I mean the situation required creative problem solving, he says, but all the confidence has drained from his voice. Sarah leans forward, her eyes locked on Dad's face. Tell Emma what you did when the insurance company started asking questions about my body. Dad doesn't answer, but Sarah pulls out another set of documents, correspondence between Dad and Mutual Benefit Life Insurance Company, dated 6 months after her supposed death. The insurance investigator wanted to interview people who'd seen my remains, Sarah explains. David told them the trauma had been too severe for family viewing, but they needed at least one witness who could confirm identification. I scan the letters, dread building in my stomach. Who did you get to lie for you? Miguel Rodriguez, Dad says finally. He has experience with insurance documentation requirements. Miguel Rodriguez, your current contractor who's holding Mom hostage, I say. Miguel Rodriguez, who posed as my grieving brother and confirmed my identification at the morgue, Sarah corrects. The same Miguel Rodriguez who's been helping David expand his operation for the past 2 years. The scope keeps getting bigger. This isn't just Dad's individual criminal enterprise, it's a whole network of people facilitating insurance fraud across multiple states. How many other people are involved in this? I ask. Sarah and Dad look at each other, and for a moment I see a flash of the partnership they used to have, back when they were running a legitimate business together. Emma, Dad says carefully, what I've built over the past 3 years is bigger than just our family situation. The basement door at the top of the stairs creaks open, and my heart stops completely. Heavy footsteps, not Dad's. Someone bigger, moving with purpose. David? We have a problem. The voice is gravelly, unfamiliar. Miguel Rodriguez. Dad's face goes white. You're supposed to be watching Linda. Linda's fine. But your neighbors called the cops about suspicious activity. Someone saw lights moving around your basement at 2 a.m. and reported a possible break-in. Miguel's footsteps start down the stairs. Police are doing a wellness check in about 10 minutes. The police. Real police, not Dad's fabricated federal agents. Sarah grabs my hand, squeezing hard. This is our chance, maybe our only chance. Dad starts shoving documents back into folders, his calm facade finally cracking completely. Miguel, we need to implement emergency protocols immediately. What emergency protocols? Miguel appears at the bottom of the stairs, a huge man in his 50s wearing a maintenance worker's uniform. He stops short when he sees Sarah and me on the couch. Jesus, David, you said the family meeting was handled. It's being handled, Dad snaps, but his hands are shaking as he closes the laptop. We just need to relocate everyone before. The doorbell rings upstairs. 3 sharp chimes that make everyone freeze. Fairfax County Police, wellness check. Dad's breathing gets rapid and shallow. Miguel, get them to the van. Now. David, there's no time. The cops are at your front door. Miguel pulls out his phone. And I got 3 missed calls from Richmond. The Hendersons figured out their life insurance was cancelled and hired a private investigator. Everything's falling apart at once. Dad's carefully constructed empire is collapsing in real time. The doorbell rings again. Police. Is anyone home? The bathroom window, I whisper to Sarah. She nods, understanding immediately. While Dad and Miguel argue about evacuation procedures, we edge toward the small bathroom door. Mr. Morrison. We're coming around to check the backyard. Dad spins toward us. Nobody moves until. Sarah bolts for the bathroom. I'm right behind her, slamming the door and turning the flimsy lock. Dad pounds on the door immediately, but Sarah's already attacking the painted window with a hair clip, scraping frantically at the old paint. The whole frame's painted shut, she says, but keeps scraping. I grab the toilet plunger and use the wooden handle to chip at the paint around the window edges. 3 years of being trapped, Sarah's not letting a painted window stop her now. Emma. Open this door. Dad's voice cracks with desperation. The window frame gives suddenly, the old paint cracking away in chunks. Sarah pushes the window open. It's a tight fit, but she squeezes through headfirst, dropping into the basement window well outside. Police. Back here. I scream as loud as I can while climbing through the window. I hear car doors slamming, footsteps running through our backyard, radios crackling with police codes. Fairfax County Police. Let me see your hands. I tumble out of the window well to find 3 officers with flashlights surrounding Sarah and me. Behind them, I can see more police cars arriving, their red and blue lights strobing across our quiet neighborhood. Officers, thank God, Sarah says, raising her hands. I'm Sarah Kellerman. I was reported dead 3 years ago, but David Morrison has been holding me prisoner in that basement. The lead officer, Sergeant Williams according to her nameplate, looks between us with professional skepticism. Ma'am, I'm going to need to see some identification. I don't have identification. David Morrison has been collecting life insurance money while keeping me captive. Sarah's voice is steady now, stronger than I've heard it all night. Check the basement. There's evidence of insurance fraud, identity theft, and kidnapping. More police stream into the backyard. I can hear Dad and Miguel being arrested inside the house, Miranda rights being read over Dad's protests about misunderstanding the situation. Are you Emma Morrison? Sergeant Williams asks me. Yes. And my mother, Linda Morrison, she's being held somewhere by Miguel Rodriguez. Dad said she was taken to keep us from escaping. Williams speaks into her radio, we need APB on Linda Morrison, possible kidnapping victim. Suspect Miguel Rodriguez, last seen driving. She looks at me. What kind of vehicle? I don't know, but Sarah has documents. Everything's documented in the basement. 2 hours later, I'm sitting in the police station watching Sarah give her statement to FBI agents, real ones this time, with badge numbers I verified myself. Mom was found safe at a storage facility across town, groggy from sedatives but unharmed. The evidence in Dad's basement filled 17 boxes. The FBI estimates Morrison Family Enterprises defrauded insurance companies of over $2.3 million across 4 states. They found connections to 12 other fake deaths, including the Hendersons whose private investigator had started unraveling the whole network. Dad plea bargained for 15 to 25 years. Miguel got 12 years for conspiracy and kidnapping. The corrupt medical examiner who helped fake Sarah's death was arrested in his office, along with 2 funeral directors and an insurance claims adjuster. Sarah's officially alive again as of last week. The state of Virginia issued her new identification documents, and the insurance companies are paying substantial settlements for the fraud committed in her name. She started therapy and moved into an apartment in Richmond, far from our neighborhood but close enough that we have coffee sometimes. Mom's doing better than expected. The revelation that her husband was a criminal mastermind was devastating, but she says the worst part was realizing how many of her friends had been targeted. Patricia from book club quit drinking after learning she'd been marked for murder. Janet got a security system and changed all her locks. As for me, I'm transferring to Virginia Tech for my junior year. New school, new major, I'm switching to social work. Turns out spending your life helping people is more appealing than spending it optimizing their deaths for profit. I kept Sarah's bracelet, the one that says, world's best almost stepmom. Some family bonds survive even the worst betrayals. And sometimes the good people don't finish broke after all. Sometimes they just finish free.